Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. He's Maddie, and this is Yankee and the Brits Thursday night or Thursday Sunday. See, New Year's got me all fucked up. I'm tired. It's Sunday
You
pregame
never know what
show.
day it
Happy New
is.
Year's Eve or Happy New Year's, everybody. New Year's Eve messed me up, and I didn't
Yeah,
even go out.
yeah, happy New Year, everybody. I hope 2023 is really good to you all.
So, Maddie, did you see Tom Brady's comments before we roll into all the games that said I'd rather lose than not play?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy, right? Like a pretty crazy thing to say. Um, but yeah, it's Tom Brady. Like he always wants
I
to
think
play,
it's the
and
most
he
honest
believes
thing
he
you've
deserves
heard.
any. Yeah, yeah, right. Like Tom Brady's got to a stage in his career where he can actually just say what he's thinking rather than uh, what a lot of quarterbacks especially do, and that's get up to the podium and give the answer that the organization want to hear. I mean, yeah, but Tom Brady gives them their best chance to win anyway, so I guess it's okay for him to say that.
And this is a guy who still has a chance to win the division and all of that. So I felt like it was a very honest comment. I know that they were talking a lot about will he retire? And I think that just proves now that even Tom's looking more for the best place for Tom mentally than he probably is football wise next year.
Yeah, it's been a difficult 2022 for Tom, right? Like he's had a difficult time. Like obviously he's gone through the divorce, his family spread all over the place. It must have been such a difficult year for um Tom Brady. But um so next year he just wants somewhere stable. And if you give Tom Brady stability, chances are he'll that'll be the best place for him to win as well. So I think if he's happy mentally and he's happy in terms of his stability and his situation, he'll have the best opportunity to win anyway. And I mean, a great place to go and sort yourself out and have a good time. Vegas, right? Get
Yeah, I
himself to
do like
Vegas. Have
the
some fun.
I like the idea of him and Sean Payton going to back to the Saints together too.
Yeah, I think that would be crazy. That's probably one of the more outlandish ones, isn't it? Them all going to the Saints together.
It's actually the one that's the easiest though, because Sean Payton just says, I want to coach again. He's already under contract
Yeah.
for the Saints. Saints take him back happily, especially after this year. And Tom's a free agent, so he just signs. It's the easiest of all of the landing spots because you don't have to worry about compensating the Saints then for Sean Payton. And I know I keep hearing the two of them are talking about Carolina, but if you're the Saints, do you really trade Sean Payton to Carolina?
In division to go work with Tom Brady as well. Yeah, definitely not. But if you're, I don't understand them going to Carolina either. It's
That defense. And if you think
yeah,
about it, Tom only needs to win. I mean, granted, you need the whole team, but Tom's most important to win is you need a tight end, a slot receiver, and a receiving running back. Tom is good.
and an offensive line which Carolina don't
Tom hasn't had an
have.
offensive line in since 2 years before he left New England.
That Tampa offensive line was excellent last year. They've just been injured this year.
Well, I just watched the whole thing, and they get a lot of credit for Tom moving in that pocket.
Yeah, right. I love the chat about Tom's actual mobility in the pocket. Like I um love watching quarterbacks analyze Tom's pocket mobility and things like that. It's really interesting because it's something that you don't necessarily pick up on the TV coverage as much because you're thinking, but with Tom, you're thinking like, oh, they've got him, oh, they've got him, oh, they've got him, and he's not been sacked. He's not been sacked straight away. That mobility in the pocket is incredible. However, yeah, I'm not sure about Carolina as the destination. I just think the Raiders is such a great match for him right now. Um, but then again,
That's
problems with
if
the offensive line.
McDaniels can't get Rodgers.
Yeah, yeah,
That's That's the rumor.
Yeah, is it not? It's interesting to think that he would rather have Rodgers over Brady when he's worked with Brady before and won Super Bowls with Brady already. It's a interesting thing to think.
Well, Rodgers is more talented. Brady's just the better quarterback because he's got all the rings. But like pure arm talent and way that they play, I mean, it's Brady's a better. I mean, Rodgers is a more talented quarterback, so it depends on what you want. And at this point, I wonder if some of it is we're going to have to get a veteran and draft a guy. So let's bring in somebody that's going to make Devontae Adams happy that we just did what we did with Derek Carr.
Yeah, which is fair enough. The way to keep Devontae there is probably to bring Aaron Rodgers back into the fold, isn't it? But
Well,
I mean,
I love and I know what you meant when you said that, and you don't mean it like others, but I watch talking heads on TV and they're like, that's if Devontae stays. Like, bro, where the fuck's he gonna go? He just signed a 5-year contract.
yeah, Devontae can't get out of the Raiders. There's keeping him happy, and then there's him leaving. You keep him happy because
Right.
players play their best football when they're happy, right?
I knew you didn't
find
mean
ways
it
to keep
that
him
way.
happy. But like the idea of Devontae Adams leaving is stupid and makes no sense. It's a non-starter. Like not many teams can put up a trade package to get Devontae Adams, to get the Raiders to seriously listen. And Devontae can't really do anything about it either.
So there's a rumor that the Bears give up their first pick, which is going to be a high pick. So the Raiders maybe do that, maybe. But if you're the Bears, why the fuck would you give up that high of a pick for a receiver when I don't care what you do, that Devontae Adams is not going to fix your problems right now.
Yeah, that's not the right move for them. Like they need to build like a Ravens team where there are no star wide receivers. Like you have guys that can do the job and you can catch the ball, right? But like the Ravens don't have a single star wide receiver. Don't waste any money on the receiver position when you've got Justin Fields there. Like you need receivers who can do the job and can catch the fucking ball is great, but you don't need a star. Like that's just not how your offense is going to look like that.
If I'm Devontae, I'm like, don't even trade for me because I'm not showing up in Chicago.
Yeah, it's just like there's no way that like I'm a Justin Fields fan, but there's no business having the number one wide receiver in the NFL as your wide receiver when you're Justin Fields, right?
Right. And in the NFL, every star player has a no trade clause, even if they don't have a no trade clause, because all they have to say is, I don't want to play for you, and nobody's trading. But I will say, since we just touched base tiny bit on Ohio State quarterback Justin Fields, CJ Stroud can move in the pocket, but I don't know if he can play in the NFL because every throw is to a wide open receiver. So I still have no idea if the guy has what it takes to throw to a covered guy.
Yeah, that's the issue with picking these.
But he moves well in the pocket.
Yeah, it's that's an issue. I like what CJ Stroud does. Whenever I've watched CJ Stroud, I like it a lot. But that's the difficulty when you're drafting from Bama or Ohio. Like those guys are wide open all the time. But it's like Tua. If you can put Tua in the right position, then there are certain quarterbacks in the NFL that make wide open throws look really difficult. Deshaun Watson's been doing it since he has come back, where they've had wide open throws and he skimmed it along the floor. Or Zach Wilson seems to miss wide open receivers quite a lot. There are certain quarterbacks. So hitting wide open guys in a good scheme is a skill that you should probably take on with the NFL, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Should bring A-Rod in, but he has been so fucking happy that Derek Carr not only got benched, but got sent the fuck home from the team. Yeah. Like, because the sending home is what guarantees Derek Carr is not coming back next year.
Yeah. Derek Carr's not a Raider next year, which is an exciting prospect for us to talk about in the offseason, right? I'm excited to see where Derek Carr goes. I still think New England's might be a great place for him. That kind of organization if they're off Mac Jones as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that whole Mac Jones thing plays out too, because Belichick and his quarterback hating each other is kind of a weird thing that we haven't seen for 20 years because Brady always played the good soldier.
Yeah. Bill Belichick seems to be quite an easy guy to not get along with when he's not winning, right? And we all knew that anyway. But That's kind of a big part of coaching. Like, you don't see a lot of the Rams going off at Sean McVay when they're not winning right now, do you?
No, but Sean McVay's known as a nice guy.
Exactly. Exactly. It's an important coaching thing. Can you be considered the best coach of all time when most of your team doesn't get on with you unless you're winning? But then the fact is, like, he's won a lot. So
And next week we'll have a lot of talk about, because after next week's games it'll be Black Monday and we'll have a bunch of coaching opens or vacancies
I know, exciting to see. We'll
like
see.
Arizona. But
Yeah, hopefully. Like, it's about time, right? Like, that ship has sailed a while ago. And it doesn't necessarily mean that Cliff Kingsbury's like a terrible coach. It just hasn't worked, and it hasn't worked for 3 seasons now.
if you're the Carolina Panthers, because we are going to talk about the Carolina Panthers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers game first, and I'll just say Tampa is favored by 3.5. But if you're the Carolina Panthers and Steve Wilks is the head coach right now, wins the next 2 games and wins you the division, do you keep him on? Do you keep the interim coach on, or do you move on to another coach? That's a weird position for Carolina to be in.
Yeah, well, you saw what happened to the Raiders last year. So the Raiders had, what was the name of the guy that stepped in?
He's the Packers special teams guy
Yeah, he
right
is.
now. He's
Yeah.
a Paisan too, and at the top of my head, it's just slipping me. I can picture his face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If anybody knows in the comments, then just put it in there. Yeah, well, that happened with the Raiders last year, didn't it? They decided to go another way, and that hasn't really worked out for them yet. I'm not writing the Raiders off at all, though, coming into next year. But they went the other way with that. I think the Panthers, it depends who's actually on the market, who wants to take up that position, doesn't it? Because how much do the Panthers actually have going for them? I mean, they could win their division. They could be the best team in their division.
They just have to win the next 2 games, and the division's theirs. And I'll just put it out there. I got them beating Tampa Bay today.
Okay, yeah. So I'm going to take them with the spread in this division. I'm not any lines.
I'm taking
that
the money
over.
line.
Right. Okay. I'm taking the plus 3.5. Anything that's over 3 points, I don't want anything to do with in the NFC South.
You I might be projecting today. You'll be the judge of that by the time our picks are over.
Yeah, I mean, it works out best for me if the Panthers win. Don't you worry. I'd much rather the Cowboys play the Panthers than play the Bucks, because whenever we play Tom Brady, we just seem to, like, he just has an incredible game. This division's incredibly close. All their games have been pretty close as well. The last time that they played together, PJ Walker had 6 what do they call it in that PFF stat? Big plays, 6 big time throws is the stat, which is a record in the NFL for the past 3 years or something like that. So PJ Walker came in and did that to them. The Bucks are a strange team because their run defense is heralded as one of the best in the league, but they haven't really been showing it so far this year. And this Carolina Panthers team just ran for over 200 yards against Detroit. A lot of that was by Detroit, though. Like, Detroit were not filling the gaps right. They were having a horrible time, like, filling in those gaps. You've got to think that the Bucks will probably be more buttoned up than that. But it'll be an interesting game to see.
All right. Well, we got Cleveland Browns at the Washington Commanders. Commanders are favored by 1.5. As we've been talking about this, the money line went from minus 130 to minus 135 to minus 130 to minus 124 for the Commanders. I think the Commanders are going to win, but there's not a big enough jump from the points to the money line, or there's more money in the points than the money line. So give me the points with the Commanders.
Yeah,
I'm going. Minus the points. I'm taking the Commanders to win.
And to cover the spread, with that
Rough
one,
morning.
So the Commanders are now playing Carson Wentz, which
it just dropped to minus 112.
Yeah, it's moving around a lot. It's just gone up to
That's a lot
minus
of bets are
118.
coming in on this game right now, and it's
Yeah,
adjusting in real time.
everybody's betting this game. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, Carson Wentz is playing for the Commanders today, which should be interesting to watch how he comes back and plays in this
He's
game.
going to throw at least 2 interceptions. If they're caught or not is on the Commanders, but he's going to throw at least 2 that can be picked.
Yeah. I was listening to somebody comparing Wentz and Taylor Heineke's stats, and they're basically the same quarterback this year. I think Heineke's had 10 more snaps than Wentz this year. He's thrown 12 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Wentz has thrown 11 touchdowns with 6 interceptions as well. They have a very similar yardage. And watching Taylor Heineke, he might be one of the luckiest quarterbacks of all time because he just throws the ball up there. There should be picks everywhere. They should be picks the whole time. Whereas Carson Wentz, I don't really know what Carson Wentz does. Carson Wentz's turnovers are so egregious that like Taylor Heineke is throwing the ball up there and it's like, hey man, go catch that ball. If you don't, like I'm gambling all the way. Whereas Carson Wentz is just bad reads, so egregious. I don't really get this move. I would have stayed with Taylor Heineke. They were using they were using Taylor Heineke to sell the season tickets earlier on in the year, so I don't really get this move.
Well,
Back to
where I
Carson
see
Wentz.
it, okay, so Carson Wentz, first of all, takes points off the boards with his turnovers. That's the problem. Like you're in the red zone, he turns the ball over. When you were guaranteed 3 points, you know what I mean, at a minimum. But I think this is just me thinking. I think because the upside of Carson Wentz is so much higher than the upside of Taylor Heineke, just because we know no matter what you think about Carson Wentz, the kid's super talented. But the upside's higher where the floor, I think they think the floors are pretty equal where the upside on Carson Wentz is higher. Plus, that whole thing is if they're even, the guy you're paying more is playing.
Yeah, which is fair enough. Now moving over to the Browns, Deshaun Watson still isn't looking good. Everybody's like, oh, he had an amazing game in the snow last week. He played so well in the snow. Like, I don't know where this swathe of writing about Deshaun Watson's coming from that is saying that he's playing so well. He threw for about 135 yards in that game. Like, yes, it was cold, right? Okay, like it was cold. He threw for 135 yards. Like, he had a good game. He's not back. Like, Deshaun Watson is not back. And what he's doing crucially is taking touches away from Nick Chubb. When Jacoby Brissett was there, they just ran the rock with Nick Chubb the entire time. But now Deshaun Watson's there. They feel like they're having to throw all the time. And it makes no sense to me because Nick Chubb is the whole point that you're in any position to do anything whatsoever. So just keep giving the rock to Nick Chubb. I'm going to take the Commanders in this one. I think it's in the Browns' best interest to lose this game. So I think they might have checked out already, to be perfectly honest.
Well, do you remember last week when you said that you once heard that the difference between Kirk Cousins and Dak is their PR team?
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson must have the same fucking PR team. Because they're calling that game. I'm with you. They're calling that game like he balled out, and I'm like,
yeah,
is that the Deshaun Watson that you gave up all those picks for? Because I don't think so.
Yeah, it's like he played fine. Like if Jacoby Brissett did that, you'd be like, okay, you've guaranteed Deshaun Watson, what is it, $235 million? Like, and he's thrown for 135 yards. Let's calm the fuck down. Like, you know, like, and what's happened is that clearly somebody at the top of the tree at the Browns has got all of their beat writers to just go out and write loads of articles about how well Deshaun Watson's playing just to try and get something going. And it's bullshit. He played fine. He was okay. They scored 10 points and lost. Like, let's remember that. They lost last week and they only scored 10 points. Yeah, I'm going to take the Commanders in this one to cover the spread as well.
So it's New Orleans at Philly. Philly are 5.5-point favorites, and they probably should be, but I think they had a rough game last week, as in like emotionally. So I still think they win. I think it's close. I think it's going to be around 7-ish. So I go back and forth. But just for the sake of it, give me the Saints plus 5.5 with Philly winning.
Oh man, you're projecting hard.
Well, I still got Philly winning. I still got Philly
Yeah,
winning.
yeah,
I
yeah,
just
yeah.
think emotionally, and then I want to see a backup do it back to back.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I keep on forgetting that Jalen Hurts isn't there.
Well,
But
yeah, if
yeah, so
Jalen Hurts was there, I'd be like, give me the
yeah.
Eagles and whatever this point spread.
Yeah. The Saints' interior offensive line is a fucking mess. And the Eagles have three of the biggest dudes in the entire NFL running right up the middle of any team. So, like, I can't see the Saints really getting anything done. But if Dalton has any time to throw, if he gets any time whatsoever, he really does have the opportunity to get diced, to dice up the secondary of the Eagles. The Eagles' secondary is not what it was at the start of the season. They've had a lot of injuries, and they gave up 40 points to the Cowboys.
And
Like,
Lane Johnson's not playing.
yeah. So now their offensive line isn't as strong as well. Like, look, I think the Saints have pieces. It's a bad matchup for them in terms of the interior offensive line. But I agree with you. Let's see if the backup can do it again. Although I think Gardner Minshew is probably one of the best backups in the NFL. I'm going to take the Eagles to cover the spread. I don't see the Saints moving the ball a lot.
All right. So we'll move on to the Cardinals at the Falcons. The Falcons are favored by 6.5, and the Cardinals are starting the Vikings practice squad quarterback or the Lions practice squad quarterback. However, David Blau. If you don't, if anybody watched Hard Knocks, he was the one who was in the Olympics and all of that stuff with the Lions, but he went to the Vikings, and now he's going to start for the Cardinals like 10 days after he was signed off the practice squad.
Yeah. Don't they have McSwally in the building? The Cardinals. Don't
Yeah,
you want
I
to
don't know
give?
what's going on down there, but all I know is 6.5 points, though, is a lot for two backup quarterbacks in a game. So this one was very weird for me to pick because I think Atlanta probably wins, but not by 6.5. So give me the Cardinals and 6.5, because even if the Cardinals upset them, I still win.
Yeah, looking at it, Desmond Ritter is yet to grade above 50 in PFF since he's been starting in the NFL. He's yet to grade above 50. Personally, this offense doesn't look the same with, like, they weren't winning games with Marcus Mariota. It's not like they were putting up loads of crazy points with Marcus Mariota, but the offense like had stuff going. Like there were drives where you were like, oh yeah, there's potential here. And they haven't had that same feeling since Desmond Ritter came into that position. I don't see them getting 6.5 points ahead of any team. I'm going to take the Cardinals plus the points. I'm going to take the Falcons to win. And I'm also the under of 40.5 is like, that seems like quite a generous under, doesn't it? I'm going to take the
But in
under on that one.
the new NFL, like over the last few years, teams put up 20 sometimes, and like with a blink of an eye.
Yeah, yeah. I an interesting matchup that's going to be really good to watch is Isaiah Simmons matching up with Drake London. That's going to be a good matchup because I was listening to I can't remember who it was talking about how Isaiah Simmons has now moved from, like, he started at safety and was a freaky safety, which in the NFL basically makes you a linebacker if you're too big to play safety. But now they've got him covering in the slot, like this weird slot safety linebacker combo. And he's been playing better in that. And then I've gone and watched some film on it. And like, yeah, like what they were saying was true. So can Isaiah Simmons compete with Drake London? That's going to be interesting to watch. Two big dudes going at it in the secondary. But yeah, I'm going to take the 6.5. Sorry, the Cardinals. Falcons to win, Cardinals to be within 6.5 points.
All right. So we're on to the Jags and the Texans. And I know the Texans are playing everybody tough, but the fact that the Jags are only 3.5-point favorites is very strange to me. And I know this is going to sound weird if people don't follow the NFL, but this week means nothing for the Jags. Win or lose does not change anything. For them to go to the playoffs, they have to beat Tennessee on week 18. But the Jags are playing tough. They're hot right now. They have the right coach. They're making that corner that you and I thought it would. They're a little early. We thought this was next year, and they're coming.
Yeah.
And I really like the way Trevor Lawrence is playing. I like the way that ETN has been playing all year. I like this team. I like the juice behind them. So give me the Jags minus the 3.5 because I think they beat the Texans by more than that.
Yeah. Plus yeah, it's a weird game. Like this game, like the Texans winning this game can only hurt them because if they win and the Bears lose, then the Bears get the first overall pick in the draft.
They don't really have to worry because the Bears are going to stick with Justin Fields just to screw up their next 7 years.
But what the Bears can do with that first overall pick is very exciting. I kind of want the Bears to get the first overall pick because they'll trade out. They should trade out of that first overall pick. The first overall pick, anybody who needs a quarterback?
I don't think any of these quarterbacks are worth the first overall pick, so I'm not sure somebody will trade up to it. But
yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah, that's it doesn't. It's weird because it doesn't matter if a quarterback is worth the first overall pick. A lot of the time, they'll still take a quarterback with the first. It's like the MVP. It's like the MVP. It goes to a quarterback, right?
How often do you see them trade up? Somebody trade up to the first overall pick if people aren't consensus. Oh, this guy's the first overall pick, but we'll see what happens. I do know that if the Bears play it right, they can get a stud defensive player in the draft where they're picking. So they'll have to weigh that too. But I just don't see the Jags losing this game.
Yeah. Me neither. The Jags are playing too well to lose this game. I've just read an article where they've said they're not resting any players. They're going for it. They're thinking, yeah, we'll roll in. The Titans have just come off. The Titans will just be coming off a loss against the Cowboys. So we're just going to roll in, get the win, and then keep on.
Every week the Texans are coming off a loss.
Yeah, no, I meant the Titans.
I know, but I had to shot at the Texans.
Yeah, the Texans should be resting players, but the issue is they don't have any players that are that really good enough to warrant.
No, and their best running back's already on IR, so
Yeah, exactly. So just keep Dameon Pierce away from the field, I guess, is like the one thing that you can do. Moving on to the NFC North now, we have the Chicago Bears and the Detroit Lions. Are you surprised that the point spread is only 4.5 points?
Give me the Bears and the money line.
All right. Okay.
Even though, just so people know, I will be cheering for the Lions, I think they lose. I want the Lions to win because I'd rather see the Lions in the fucking playoffs than the Packers.
Yeah. This is a really bad matchup for Detroit. Justin Fields ran for
8,000 yards on them.
Yeah, it was like 135 or something.
It was ridiculous.
And it was like only 3 of them were scrambles. Like they were.
Doesn't he have a chance of setting a rushing record for a quarterback? So I think he gets that this year.
Yeah. So what happened last week was that the Lions just couldn't keep in their gaps whatsoever. They just couldn't. Like they didn't hit a single gap. They didn't stay in the right place on the field to defend the run at all. So if you're going to do that against this Bears team who have a better run game than Carolina, especially when you factor in that their quarterback, like Justin Fields can scramble for like easily 50 yards. Like just the way that he's able to run, the way that he plays the game. Like that dude is like when he breaks out, that guy is magic. Sometimes with his feet. So it's not going to be great for the Lions. But with that all being said, the last time that they got humiliated, They then came up against Saquon Barkley and the Giants the next week and completely shut down Saquon Barkley that week. So maybe they're one of those teams that needs to get their ass kicked to then get their butt in gear for the next week in a big run task. But I really see the Bears going off and running for thousands of yards today. Also, the over-under is 52 points, high-scoring game. What was it, 31-30 the last time these guys played?
Yeah, and the Lions have been known to put up points. So if the Lions can put up 30 points, they'll win this fucking game. But I don't think they'll be able to put up 30. And I'm going to steal Shug's line that he likes to use on Kirk Cousins. Sooner or later, Dan Campbell's going to turn back into a pumpkin.
Yeah. Sooner or later, something will happen. So what?
Well, Shug always tells me sooner or later, Kirk Cousins is going to turn back into a pumpkin. So I'm using it staying on Dan Campbell.
Yes.
And we don't need to get into it now, but the Lions will have a very interesting quarterback situation going into the offseason.
Yeah, the Lions are in a crazy place with their quarterback. There's a lot of teams in the NFL this year where they have, like 5-10 years ago, you're happy with your quarterback situation if you have Jared Goff, if you have Carson Wentz. Like, these guys are good enough to have jobs in the NFL. But the way that the league's built now is you need to have one of those top 10 guys to even compete. So you need to have so if you have Jared Goff as your quarterback, are you happy with that situation? Is it worth going out and trying to get a new quarterback, a different quarterback? Maybe that's a place where, like, I still think Baker Mayfield there makes so much sense. But yeah, we'll see how that goes down because Jared Goff's played well.
All right. Well, before we move on to the Dolphins, New England, let's get a quick word from Freezes at Overtime Hustling.
What's good? It's your homie, Freezes Christ. Y'all know the deal. Make sure y'all head on over to overtimehustling.com where you can catch all the latest merch, all the newest mags, all the media, everything, know what I mean? And you can also find me on Winging It with the homies Keith G, King Dell, and Payne Gusto. And you can catch me on Turf Tales with the homie SK. And if you got nothing to do on Sundays, even if you do got something to do, make sure you tap in the Overtime Reactions hosted by the homie Cuzzo. And I cannot forget the homie Jay over there at the Yankee and the Brit channel. So make sure y'all go over there and check them out. And hey, check me out, your boy Freezes, on that Real Talk with Jay. It was a hell of an interview, yo. Gotta do it again. I keep saying it because I mean it. We gotta do it again. I had a great motherfucking time. But anyway, you know who it is. Freezes H, OTH, Yankee and the Brit, Winging It, Turf Tales, Overtime Reactions, Chronicles Podcast. You know the drill, Cush's Corner. It's a motherfucking movement. So move with it or move out the motherfucking way. Simple and plain.
Overtime hustling, we hustling overtime.
All right, Maddie.
Sorry. Justin Fields is 200 yards short of the rushing record.
With 2 games left. And I know people go, it's 17 games, but let's stop. Like,
like he's missed a game. So
well, I know, but they're still going to say that in 17
I know
games,
it's so infuriating.
A game or like whatever, you know. It's just it's sports change, and it doesn't change that records get broken. It's just they're in different eras. There's a 16-game era. There's the 14-game era. There's a 12-game era. Now we're in the 17-game era.
Yeah, what's the point of keeping records if every time somebody breaks one, you just decide, like, so what? Nobody can break a record if they don't do it within 14 games.
There is a lot of 20 to 30 something old get off my lawn fuckers on Facebook.
Right. Yeah, right. Like, it's strange. It blows my fucking mind. Like, I'm just like, every time I'm like, all right, this is just the opinion of somebody who's probably, like, when they were watching football, it was like 14 games or whatever. Like, it was a long ass time ago, and like those years, right? And then you look at them and they're like my age, and it's like, come on, man. Like, it's good for us. It's good for us.
I get the 60-year-old arguing it. The 60-year-old makes sense to me. The 25-year-old doesn't. But so here's a disrespectful line, and I know that the backup's playing, but New England's favored by 3 against the Dolphins. And I think even with Teddy, the Dolphins win by like 7. So give me the Dolphins plus the 3.5.
Yeah, the backup's playing, but the backup's Teddy Bridgewater, who's in the current situation in New England is better than your quarterback.
In the world of backup quarterbacks, there's 3 or 4 guys in this league that are at the top, and he's one of them.
Yeah, like Teddy Bridgewater, Gardner Minshew,
maybe Andy Dalton, because to me he's still a backup type.
Yeah, it depends. Is Andy Dalton the backup? Like those kind of guys. Taylor Heineke, Carson Wentz, like whoever's backing up there. Like there's those guys there that aren't really backups.
And I'll give it to him, even though he's not really supposed to be a backup. Sam Darnold, hell of a backup this year, came in, played from the backup role. Like if you're going to call him the backup to Baker Mayfield earlier, Sam Darnold looked pretty good as a backup. Yeah,
there's
Cooper Rush.
But like I'd say Cooper Rush is more the archetypal backup though. Like the Cowboys have
games, and that's all that matters.
Yeah. The Cowboys have to dial back their game though when Cooper Rush is in. I don't necessarily think that Miami are going to dial back their game that much more when Teddy Bridgewater's with
Sometimes
Teddy in.
I
They're not
think
going
the
to
Cowboys would be better off playing with Dak
100%.
the same way they played with Cooper Rush. But
100%. I was banging the desk on that the entire time because what can happen with Dak is Dak can do those Dak can do those crazy things that Cooper Rush just can't do. But still, the best way for us to win games is the way that we play with Cooper Rush. But anyway, that's a totally separate point. Yeah, I think Teddy Bridgewater is one of the backups in the league. I think New England would be really happy if they had a quarterback like Teddy Bridgewater, don't you think? Like if New England had Teddy Bridgewater, they'd be much happier. But than what they've got right now, just because of the way that this situation's worked out with Mac Jones and Bill Belichick. So that's a really disrespectful line. I'm taking the Dolphins with the money line all the way on that one.
All right, Chiefs, Broncos. Broncos at the Chiefs. Chiefs are minus 12.5. I don't usually like big point spreads, but give me the Chiefs. They are going to rout the Broncos. They are just going to rout the Broncos, especially with everything that's going on in Denver.
Yeah, that is a crazy point spread. Like if you showed that point spread at the start of the season, that's what's happened with Denver. Like that's what's going on with Denver, right? Because we're all making out like Denver are the first overall pick in the draft. Like they're not the worst team in the NFL. They're close.
They're the worst team when it comes to expectations of a team.
Yeah,
and
we
how
expected
bad they
them. Yeah,
right.
We expected them to. There was genuine people saying that they were going to win the the AFC West. Like there was people banging the drum for the Broncos saying that they were going to win the Super Bowl.
I picked the Raiders, okay? So I can't beat on the guys who picked Denver.
Yeah, but I think it's just a show of like how far they've fallen. Like,
yeah,
minus 12.5. That's crazy. In the light of what happened last week, so like I was like, yeah, Denver have a great defense. They can really, they're always going to be able to keep games closer than double-digit point spreads because they're great defense. But the Rams just put 51 points on them with Baker Mayfield playing his second or third game, and that's still terrible offensive line. I wouldn't bet on this game if it was me, but if I had to, I would probably bet for the Chiefs to cover the 12.5 point spread.
All right. Well, Colts at the Giants. Giants are favored by 5.5 at home. I think the Giants are going to win this game. I think the Giants are going to securely lock in their number 6 spot and just call it a day, walk into the playoffs. So I got the Giants winning this. Give me the 5.5. I think they win by more than that. And I think the Colts are just dying slowly.
Yeah, what's happened with the Colts are the Colts have pieces. The Colts have pieces that are there that they can actually work with, right? It's just like nobody's really playing up to expectation. There's no way that Quentin Nelson should have a Pro Bowl spot this year. That's crazy to me. Like Quentin Nelson is in. It was somebody was saying it
when you let fans vote on the Pro Bowl, you just get names.
Yeah, so somebody was saying it's in positions where people don't really know how to play the position. So people like offensive linemen, a lot of
Long
the time
snapper.
you're just getting on name like all the time. Like those kind of positions. It's just like
How
you're
many
getting in on
people in the
names.
NFL even know if a long snapper's good? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. Like, there's guys on every team who know, but how many people in the NFL circles even know if a long snapper's good and they elect a long snapper? So there's a lot of times. And then when you let fans get involved, names just get voted for.
Did you see when so one long snapper that went one year was dating Pamela Anderson or someone
Well,
like
the
that?
long snapper that went this year absolutely deserved it. Shout out Minnesota. Okay. Um,
Yeah, he was dating. He was dating. I think it was Pamela Anderson, and Bill Belichick was coaching the AFC team, and he arrived there. And normally everybody takes their families and partners and things like that. And Belichick was like, "Where's your girlfriend?" And he's like, "Oh, she's not come. She's got other commitments." And he was just like, "Why do you think you're here?" Like deadpan, like deadpan just said that to him, and it's like that's a crazy story, man. You basically got elected to the Pro Bowl because of your girlfriend. But yeah, so the New York Giants, they don't win games by big margins, is what I look at when I'm looking at them covering the point spread. And I find it difficult to believe that they'll blow the Colts out of the water. I know 5.5 isn't a huge point spread, but give me the Colts and the points on this one. I don't think the Giants win many games by this big of a margin.
Danny Dimes plus 65 yards rushing with a touchdown. Okay. So
Love it.
Jets, Seahawks. Jets are at the Seahawks. I will absolutely be cheering for the Seahawks to win today, but Mike White's back, and I think the Jets will win. So give me the Jets minus 1.5, but I will be cheering for the Seahawks, and I hope I'm wrong.
Have you seen what Mike White's having to wear to be able to play today? He's
No.
like wearing like a Kevlar vest, like around his ribs. Like it looks insane. It looks like something from the future.
Everybody talks shit about those flak jackets, but I think more quarterbacks should wear them like Cousins
Yeah,
and some of the other
definitely.
guys do, because Cousins takes some shots and stands there. But I think, and he's tough as nails too, but I think that helps keep your ribs from getting broken and all that kind of stuff. Some quarterbacks who are willing that take more shots should probably start thinking about those flak jackets more.
Yeah, like Josh Allen should have a flak jacket, right? Like that's a guy that needs one. Um, yeah, so he's wearing a flak jacket, but it's a more intense
Right.
flak jacket that he's
I
got on.
got what
Like the
you
one
were
that he's
saying.
got,
Yeah.
the one that he's got is fucking wild. Like it'll be very, very noticeable. It'll look like he's put on like 20 pounds, like or something like that. So yeah, I like Mike White being back. I think that's better for Garrett Wilson. They seem to have a good connection. The Seahawks have been faltering late on in the year. I think the Jets defensive line causes some problem. The Seahawks offensive line has not been as good throughout the later stages of the year, which is weird when you have two rookie guards. You would expect them to get better, but the Jets defensive line is certainly getting better. I think they're going to cause some problems. I'm going to take, for betting purposes, I'll take the Seahawks plus 1.5 because then I'm covered for the upset as well. When it's something that close, it's better just to take the over. But actually, no, fuck that. Fuck that. The Jets are going to cover. The Jets are going to cover the spread. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll go 49ers at Las Vegas. Stiddy starting for, I just wanted to say Stiddy because that's what they're calling him on
Stiddy?
TV now. Stiddy starting for the Raiders. The spread is 9.5. The 49ers win this game, but the Raiders give them everything they can handle up until the fourth quarter. So give me the Raiders plus 9.5.
Stitty and Mr. Irrelevant are playing in this game. It's pretty fucking crazy. Imagine if you said that at the start of the year as well.
Stidham's going to look better in this offense than Derek Carr did, but the Niners are still going to win. The Raiders are going to keep it close until the fourth. That's why I want the 9.5. I'll take the Raiders in 9.5.
Yeah, I'll 100% take the Raiders in 9.5 in this one. I think they'll keep it close as well. I think that yeah, Stidham grew up in this system. Like he knows this system, which seems to have been what Derek Carr's biggest problem was. Everybody's making out like Brock Purdy's having this crazy good season, which, I mean, fine. Like, he is Mr. Relevant. That's another thing where it's expectation. But he's not doing any better than what Jimmy Garoppolo was doing. And it's like, it's just the system that wins there. And that's exactly what you need for the 49ers.
I would argue he's doing better because he's a rookie and he's cheaper. So therefore, if you're even, that makes him better. But yes, no, I'm just saying that being argumentative, but yes.
That's got to be interesting for the 49ers, doesn't it? The idea
Jimmy G to the Raiders.
Yeah,
he's a Josh McDaniel disciple too, if you look at it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, he knows the system right as well. Yeah. And then Tom Brady to the 49ers. Very fun. Yeah, I don't see the 49ers putting up enough points to get out ahead of this. Obviously, their defense is unbelievable. So I'm going to take the Raiders plus the 9.5 in this one.
All right. So the Vikings at Lambeau Field. The Packers are favored by 3.5. The Vikings just better put these fuckers out right now. Like, so the old Vikings let the Packers win this game, stay relevant, and maybe make the playoffs. Are we the same old Vikings, or are we the brand new Vikings? So if we are the brand new Vikings, you put the fucking Packers out of their misery today. But man, that makes me nervous.
I think this may be one of the harsher lines in the entire NFL this week. That Minnesota aren't the favorites. I think that's pretty fucking crazy, to be perfectly honest. The Vikings are 12-3, and the Packers are 7-8. And I don't care what people are saying about the negative points differential. Like, yes, when you're comparing it to,
they're not negative anymore.
Sorry, it's the worst points differential of
any
12 team, isn't it? It's +5, yeah. Like, it's just when you sit there and you go like, yes, when we're comparing, are the Dallas Cowboys better or are the Vikings better? It's a fine point. But when you're comparing somebody who has a 12-3 record to a team that has a 7-8 record, that point's irrelevant. Like, the Packers don't really know, like, haven't been getting the wins. The teams that they've been on this 3-game winning streak are the Bears, who are on an 8-game losing streak, the Rams with just everything that's been going on in LA, and then the Dolphins, where the Dolphins were way out ahead of them, and then Tua got concussed and started throwing the ball to their guys. Like, that's how they won that game realistically. I don't see this Packers resurgence. I just don't get it. I don't think they've even played particularly well in any of those games. Like, the Bears were in that game. The Bears should have covered the spread.
Does Alexander have huge balls to actually come on TV and say that Justin Jefferson's a fluke?
Yeah, he better fucking back it up. You know? Like, he better fucking back that shit up. Because you have not played well enough, Alexander, to get... Like, if I was him, I'd be just shutting the fuck up and focusing on actually playing.
Even if I'm the best corner in the league, I'm shutting up when a monster's coming to town. I'm not just giving him any extra motivation.
Yeah, like, it helps. Like, when it was Jalen Ramsey doing it to guys, right? When he was playing in Jacksonville.
But that
helps. That's how he gets moving. But this seems out of character for Alexander, right?
Yes,
like,
yes, that's exactly
this seems like a weird thing to do. Like, he's never done it before. So is he just trying to get something going in his game, or is he just like frustrated, or what is going on? Like, it's not going to harm Justin Jefferson, I imagine. If anything, it's going to make him go off even more. I'm going to take the Vikings and the money line in this one.
All right, so it's the Battle of LA. It's technically a Chargers home game. The Chargers are favored by 6.5. Chargers better win this fucking game, but he is a fluke. Stop it. Justin Jefferson is Stop it. Chargers better win this game for their whole moving forward, and you're playing the Battle of LA. But give me the Rams in the 6.5.
Yeah, 6.5 seems like a lot when the Rams have just put up 50. on a like the going into that game, the Broncos were the second best defense in the league, and they just put up 50. So like the Rams have got something going there. The Chargers, a lot of people had written them off. Like I kind of stopped raving about them as we went through, and now they've come back and they're looking good, looking much better. They've got one of the best quarterbacks in the league. The Chargers are going to win. The Rams are going to be within 6.5 points.
All right. So Steelers at the Ravens. No Lamar again. It's a one. Ravens are favored by 1.5, which means on a neutral field, the Steelers would be favored. I'm going to take the Ravens, but I am not comfortable on who's going to win this game either way.
Yeah, I'm going to take the. Do you know what? I'm going to take the Steelers to win this one. Huntley looked so much better last year than he's looked this year. Like I'm very surprised that he's not looked that great this year whatsoever. The Steelers, every now and again, Kenny Pickett looks really good and they get something going. I can see the Ravens choking on this one, not really moving the ball, and the over-under is 35.5. So a lot of people can see them not really moving the ball. I'm going to take the Steelers in this one.
All right. Well, on to our Monday night game, which probably be, well, on paper is the most exciting game of the week. Whoever knows how these things are going to turn out. But Buffalo is a 1.5-point favorite at Cincinnati. I actually think Buffalo should be favored for more than this. So give me Buffalo and minus 1.5.
Yeah, this should be one of the most entertaining games of the week.
Cincinnati can win this game, but give me Buffalo.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. This should be one of the most entertaining games of the year. Like I'm very excited about this game. This would have been the AFC Championship game last year if it wasn't for Patrick Mahomes moving the ball all the way down the field in 12 seconds. Do you know this is the first time that Joe Burrow's played Josh Allen? No, this is the first time they've played each other.
I thought I heard that while I was in the kitchen the other day and said there's no fucking way somebody that's true.
Yeah. This is the first time that they've played each other, which is fucking crazy. So let's see how that goes. I've been saying that the Bengals defense is sneaky good. The Bengals are probably going to miss Lyle Collins. Not that he's been playing great, but the Bills' defensive line isn't as good as what it was at the start of the season with Von Miller missing. So it's a really tense game. I'm going to take the Bengals in it because I think Joe Burrow is just that fucking dude, right? And he gets it over the line. So I'm going to take the Bengals in their home to win that game.
All right. And then we got Shug here, and we got Shug's picks for the week. And, of course, he went and picked Dallas before the game, so we got that. But some assholes got the Green Bay Packers on here. I'm just not sure about that. Hey, Shug, how's it going?
Oh, live TV, everyone. This is the issue.
Oh, he went with the throwback Tampa logo. Do you see that?
I know. That's what I was just thinking while when I saw that.
I think we got him now.
Yeah, great.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah,
sir.
here he goes. There you go, Shug. Here we go.
Yeah, no.
Part of me thinks he picked that Packers pick just to like dig at me.
And I wasn't sure who or what teams were starting their starters and what teams were like benching anybody really this week. So
right.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like the Packers they still have a chance to be the wild card, right?
Yep.
Yes, I think the Packers might come out inspired a little bit and play. And them divisional games are always close anyway. So I can see the Packers pulling one off.
And of course, they make me wait till 3:25 or Eastern time 4:25 to watch the game today. So I am like, really? I can't just get this over with right away.
Yeah. The Bills, I think the Bills are going to come out and beat Cincinnati. Bills fan, so that's kind of where that pick came from right there. And then the Bucks, I think Tom Brady, the same thing, he's going to come out and try to prove something. They still have a chance, I think, too, to win the division. So
That's what I was
And
thinking
then-
about the Bucks. Every game for them at the moment is a playoff game. They're in the playoffs now already because they need to win out. If they win this game, they clinch. So it's basically a playoff game for them, and that's where Tom Brady comes to life. And it's where those big name guys like Mike Evans come out to play and make their names as well. So I can see that happening with the Bucks definitely.
Yeah, Tom Brady usually shows up in them big time games or them playoff environment type games. So, I'm gonna go with his track record on that one.
So with the Pittsburgh game, is that because of Lamar, or do you just think that Pittsburgh's a better team, or how did that come about?
That one was kind of just a throw up. With Lamar being out, that definitely played a factor in it. And then once again, them divisional games, so they're always real close. And Pittsburgh Ravens always comes down to like one or two plays. So I can just see Pittsburgh getting lucky this time. They seem to be a little bit hotter at this point. Baltimore's kind of cooling down.
Yeah, and I can't ever argue against Tomlin. I mean, how do you argue against Mike Tomlin? This is probably going to be the first year in his career that he doesn't have a winning record.
Yeah, I think they'll play. I think they'll play tough for Tomlin. So,
And then you had the Giants over the Colts. I think that goes without saying, but as sad as it is for me, the Jeff Saturday era's only got 1 week left after this, and it's over.
Yeah, I was thinking they might bring him back. Maybe not as head coach, but I definitely think they'll keep him on the staff. Maybe it's like an offensive coordinator, or defensive coordinator, something like that.
Or they'll
The
put him back
offensive
in his
line coach.
advisor role. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the Giants they still have a chance chance for the playoffs, and I just think they're the better team, to be honest. So,
Yeah, they locked the playoffs up, but I think they lock up the number 6 spot with a win today.
yeah. So
That's three teams from the NFC East guaranteed to be in the playoffs, and only the Commanders can still, like, if they win out here, then they clinch as well, right?
Yeah, if the Commanders win out, they're in for sure. And then, like, if them and the Packers both lose today, then it'll come down to next week, or with the Seahawks and the Lions. There's 4 teams, but the Commanders have the easiest path. Win and you're in.
Yeah. If you said this earlier on in the season that the Steelers would still have a chance to keep Tomlin's winning record stat alive at this point in the year, I would have called you fucking crazy. So they have really started to heat up and turn stuff around in Pittsburgh as well. And I totally agree. The Ravens are falling back, especially without Lamar Jackson there basically saving their ass the entire time.
Yeah, it's going to be a hell of a weekend of football.
Good weekend of football. I'm excited. We've got 1 minute to kick off.
So besides the Bills game, because you're a Bills fan, what game are you most excited for this week, Shug?
I kind of want to see how the Raiders do without
Okay.
I'm hoping they come out and like light it up, and then
Stiddy gets them the win, huh?
Yeah, I would like to see a win from Smitty, but no, I'm definitely excited they finally plug on.
I want to see a win from the Raiders too. Get them 49ers off my ass. Get them 49ers off my ass.
49. Get those 49ers as far away from me as fucking possible.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, there you have it. We made it through an episode. We got Shug's picks. It's going to be a great fucking week of football because it's football. Like, it's that simple. It's a great week of football because it's football. I live for this shit, though. Maddie knows. Maddie knows even my off season is me filling my time with who's going to get drafted, what team's going to be a free agent, all that shit.
Yeah, the hard work really starts in the off season. Really, this bit's easy. We always have stuff to talk about here. Like, the shows make themselves at this point. In the off season, that's where all the hard work actually is.
When you got to create your own news and create your own.
Yeah, that's why Skip Bayless and them get so ridiculous, and everything's a Cowboys argument, or Lakers argument. It's because they're on TV 3 hours a day, every day. So they're fishing for information to argue about at that point.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's just the same show like every single fucking day from them.
No, it
'cause
is.
you
That's why I
can't
quit watching
do
it years
anything,
ago.
right?
I just can't
Yeah,
do it
yeah.
anymore. Like, I don't care about LeBron. I don't care about Dak every day. Like, yeah, I just can't do it.
There's just no way that you believe that. There's no way that Skip Bayless believes half the shit that comes out of his mouth.
I agree.
At all. Right.
All right, guys.
Let's watch some
about
football.
to kick off, and literally we dropped down to one viewer, so it's probably time to
Every
bounce.
time.
Every time it's kickoff. So everybody, thanks for watching. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.